We go live in 3, 2, 1. Boom.
Hello.
The person I'm talking to still has their ex's nudes and their tapes. I'm here asking if this is a red flag, and if I have any right to be upset that he still has them. It bothers me because he's open about not being over her, and he's never lied to me about anything, so I'm having mixed emotions about this. He's a man. Is this a situation of boys will be boys? I'd say we're rather serious. I mean, he's met my family and he's even flown me out to spend time with him, despite him being busy and in the military. I'm in a very hard spot because it's almost like I don't care anymore. But I do. I've been so numb ever since he and I started back up again, because originally he left me to try with someone else, but now he's back and we're still a little rocky. Honestly, what do I do?
So, one, they're not even in a relationship. They're talking. That doesn't even say dating. It says the person I'm talking to is not over their ex. Why even go past that point? You know they're not over their ex. It's one thing to go into a, I guess, situationship knowing that someone's not over their ex and like having the expectation of fun. But if you're expecting wholehearted commitment, someone ready to give you everything, knowing that they're not over somebody, it's not going to happen. It'd be different if he was, completely over her and he just happened to have these things on his phone. But he obviously is still looking to, like, from the sounds of it at least, like he hasn't given up on the other person, like the last relationship that he was in.
Here's the thing. Actions speak louder than words. I think we forget that sometimes. I had the experience of someone was keeping nudes of someone from the past on their phone. So my heart hurts for her because that was probably very painful. But no, I don't think when you end a relationship with someone, you should delete all the nudes of that individual.
The nudes go when they go.
Nudes go when they go.
I think that's almost a respectful thing, though, for the person, honestly. Like, I feel like if this ex-girlfriend knew that he still had these videos and tapes, she might even feel a little icky about that.
Yeah.
Because I think that for me, at least, if there was ever anything sent or anything like that, even just like normal pictures of me, you should delete them. Like, if we're done, like, you don't need to have those things of me anymore. And it's almost like a cleanse to get rid of them out of respect for the other person.
Yeah. Granted, in my case, I was getting cheated on that whole time. I didn't even realize it. So please take that as a red flag and get out, because it's not going to change. Been there, done that. Just trust me.
I said, just go, just run. Run while you can.
Run.
Honestly, and especially like I said, like you're in the talking phase at that point. I think that that's a sign to go. Whether it be the nudes or the fact that he left you to go try with somebody else.
That is such a bad sign.
And you're not even in a relationship yet. And you've already been through this much. I would go. Please don't give yourself any more of a headache. I would just
we need to create an ASMR video of us just leave them. You don't need them.
Leave them.
It's okay. You'll be okay. You don't want them. Your life is good.
You'll be okay. You got
Everything's
this.
Fine.
You will surpass this. Hard times will pass.
Mantra.
Okay. 37-year-old male, 40-year-old female. I had an emotional moment in front of my wife. Now I don't know if I can be vulnerable in front of her again. What next? My wife and I went on a small hike this morning in the woods with our dog, and very soon into this, I was overcome with some emotions and needed to take a break and be by myself and sit by the water. She went ahead with the dog, and everything was fine until we got to the waterfall at the end of the hike. I stared at that waterfall for a while before I couldn't hold it anymore and began to cry and break down quietly to myself. My wife then asked what was wrong, and even though I had tried not to talk about it, I finally did open up, and a lot of stuff came out. She was very nice about it in the beginning, but I guess it eventually got to be too much and I felt like a burden. Later on, the way back to the car, she was very quiet and I asked her what was wrong, and it seemed that she was mad at me. The first thing she said was about my emotional moment at the waterfall. You see, I've been dealing with a lot of childhood trauma that I had repressed most of my life, just a really harsh feeling that nobody was ever truly there for me in my life. While I was very loved by my parents, it always felt like it was never okay, that I was just me and not their idea of what I was supposed to be. And that's been fucking with me very hard lately, and I had a weak moment at this waterfall. Going back to the conversation with my wife, she told me that she is always there for me and was mad at me for not including her in my emotional outpouring. I thought it was obvious I was talking about my childhood and not her, and even explained to her that I always appreciated her and she wasn't included in this. But she instead made it about her anyway and continued to say, sometimes you just have to suck it up and give your family a nice day. And blame me for having this weak moment for the fact that the hike didn't go as she wanted it to. I have no idea how to feel about this. It's so painful that I had this whole emotional breakdown over people not being there for me to the one person that is and has been there for me many times. And now following this interaction, I feel like that might as well be gone now as well. Am I expecting too much of my wife? Am I being too much of an emotional burden and overthinking things here? This is my first time ever coming to Reddit for help in matters like this, and I'd appreciate your help or any insight I can get. Thank you.
My heart hurts so much for him. I just want to say I feel really, really bad for him. I guess I'll focus on him first. I feel
I'm sad. Like, I'm very sad for him. It's hard to be vulnerable and to go through like emotional, like to be dealing with repressed trauma is hard in general.
yeah. What a missed opportunity to not to be able to turn towards your partner at that moment. Of you know, these are the moments we should seek out to really be there for our partner. We should honestly be excited for these moments that our partner is coming to us and they're seeking comfort from us because they love us. The fact that he was opening up in this way, and she could have definitely clarified if she was feeling insecure in that moment. But honestly, a lot of times if someone's opening up to us, I really think we need to sit with the uncomfortable feeling just long enough to let someone finish.
Mm-hmm.
And process and talk things through versus just making it about us. I think a lot of times us as humans, because we all do this, right? We all jump to conclusions, make up our own stories, when in reality, nothing's really about us. And she just quickly went into her head and her own insecurities got in the way versus just clarifying some things. And honestly, maybe some of it perhaps was towards her.
Especially with how she just handled that
With just how she handled that scenario,
Yeah.
I feel like perhaps I think men in general aren't encouraged to share their feelings.
Yeah.
And it's shown as like a sign of weakness when in reality what he's doing right now to me tells me like he's growing and becoming stronger.
Well, and not only that, but I think he's finding trust in his wife. And I think that that's hard for
Yeah.
us as humans because not everyone is able to open up to their partners. Not everyone is able to have that line of communication. This said that they were married.
Yeah.
They're in their, they're both 40 basically. Let's just say they're both 40 for that matter. Who knows how long they've been married, but for somebody to finally confide in you, to have a moment on a hike, being outdoors can give us mental clarity.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of those things, like you're saying, to not take advantage of that moment when somebody is possibly finally opening up to you and giving you the opportunity to see like what's been hurting them so badly, even if you think it's minuscule and even if you think you're a part of it, like what you said too, it's a part of listening. Because a lot of times when we are talking to somebody, they want to say, well, I do this for you. Well, I do that for you. But when you let someone finish what they're saying and you don't just jump to that first voice in your head, which we, again, like you said, we all want to, I think that it's one of those things of you need to listen to what they're saying, understand it, comprehend it even, and then further the communication to make it a open line of safe communication between you and your partner to experience this open moment of vulnerability that I'm assuming doesn't happen very often for this man. And I do believe that a lot of the comments, I think he even went back and edited it and it said something like, thank you for talking to me because I thought I was overreacting, and everyone said that he wasn't. And I don't think he was. I think he was, taking advantage of that moment of mental clarity for himself that he was getting from being outdoors, which again, a lot of us get going outdoors. And I think that this was her chance to step up as a wife and be there for him and show that she could be there for him, that she accepted him. But instead, she said, basically, thank you for ruining this nice hike for our family. I made it about her. And I'm sure he will never open up to her again, at least not for a very long time at this point.
Here's the thing. When we get these insecurities in our minds, it's not the time to bring it up when someone's telling us something about them. You know, This happens all the time. Like people share grief of any form,
Mhm.
and someone immediate like everyone's. I don't know where it comes from, but our immediate response may perhaps it's just to relate, and it might not even be out of like the worst of intentions, but we immediately want to state like, "Oh, I've gone through the exact same thing." But the truth is, you should just sit, listen, and later, perhaps even another day, another week, bring up your insecurity. Like,
No,
did
I
she
agree.
have to say that immediately after what he had said
Yeah.
as a response? No, she could have just asked more probing questions, just been there, listen to him, comfort him, and then perhaps a week later say, hey, remember like that discussion we had last week? I just felt a little insecure and awful that perhaps like I'm not there for you enough. Is there anything I can do to be there for you, like going forward? In that way, you're not stealing someone else's moment.
No, I completely agree with you. I think it's one of those things where, in the situation where somebody's being vulnerable with you and opening up to you, in any situation, doesn't even have to be a super vulnerable situation, I guess. It should never be me, me, me. It should be you put them first. And then if you're feeling anxious, insecure, whatever the feeling may be, like you said, you go back to them later and you say, hey, these are my feelings. Can we talk about this? Have that open line of safe communication, figure it out and go from there. But
Yeah.
I think there's a time and a place for relating and bringing up your similar topics. And sometimes it is okay in certain situations if they're not as deep and maybe not as like fragile wounds. Like we all do it, like you said, like we will try to relate to one another. But I think it's one of those things where at this time, since this is so far repressed for this man, it should have been a moment of what can I do to help you right now? How can I help you get through this moment? And then later, like you said, bring up the other stuff if she needed to, because those insecure thoughts that come into our heads, I think everyone gets them. I think it just comes. And I think it's one of those things that maybe if you sit and think on it for a little bit, it's not actually something you're insecure about. It's just like the first thing that comes into your head as a human.
Especially, I guess, like those of us who immediately think everything's our fault and are reactive. I think we just need to practice staying in the moment and being able to listen.
I agree.